It's Jeff Levac on 104.5 The Team.
You know, when you want to know whether or not the Knicks are a playoff contender, you got to go to a guy who's watched more NBA hoops, more sports than anyone else. He does the calls for Fox Sports, MSG Network. He's play-by-play everywhere. He's Kenny Albert. And Kenny, I know that you were in D.C., but the Knicks lost overtime to the Thunder. Aaron Aflalo says this team is absolutely a playoff team. Do you think he's correct?
I think they are. I think, first of all, I didn't see any of the game last night, unfortunately. I was on a flight to D.C., like you said, and certainly have read about it and was following as the game was progressing. But, you have to be so impressed with the improvements they've made this year coming off the 17-win season. Right from game one in Milwaukee, a lot of people didn't expect them to win that game. And then a week later, they had a real close game in Cleveland, another close game in Cleveland in December without Carmelo Anthony, a 1-point loss in San Antonio. So I almost look at those games more than some of the wins, the games they've played against top-notch opponents where they were almost able to pull it out. But I think when you look at some of the improvements they've made with the drafting of Porzingis and bringing in the guys like Aflalo and Robin Lopez, they've made a huge leap from last year.
Kenny Albert's going to be on the call tonight for the Flyers versus Capitals on NBC Sports Network. When you see that Carmelo doesn't play in a game like this game. Now, again, I know you were busy, you didn't get to see it, but Melo likes to be up against the best of the best. So a game with Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook in it, he doesn't play. That makes me wonder, is he more hurt than we thought he was?
Well, I guess, only Carmelo and the Knicks training staff will be able to answer that question, but, it's probably killing him inside to not play in a game like that one, or the game I mentioned in Cleveland earlier this year. But he's also being smart about it. I worked the game in Charlotte Saturday night where he came out with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, did not go the rest of the way, even when the Knicks made it a 10-point game. They had been trailing by 20 earlier in the third quarter. So, coming off the surgery, and he missed the last 2.5 months last year, I think he's looking at the big picture, so it's probably a smart move to sit out certain games, even though, like I said, it's probably killing him inside not to play in a game such as last night against Oklahoma City.
You called Tom Coughlin's last game as the Giants coach in their matchup against the Eagles in Week 17. What was the stadium like? Did it feel like it was the end for Tom Coughlin that day?
It was a strange day because there were so many reports, obviously in the weeks leading up to the game that it could be his last game. Will he step down? Will he be let go? And then we actually brought up the point during the telecast, what if he still wants to coach and potentially go somewhere else? And, it sounds like he was pretty close to taking that Eagles job, which wound up going to Doug Peterson. But, our camera guys and Truck did a great job of catching his grandchildren, his family, down by the locker room prior to the game. So I think once you saw that with the 11 grandchildren all in T-shirts, Coughlin crew, you had a feeling that would probably be the last game. With the Giants, at least.
Yeah. Kenny Albert joins us, Fox Sports, Madison Square Garden Network play-by-play broadcaster. When you look at the ultimate choice to pick Ben McAdoo, do you like that?
I do. I really do. I think, and again, we talked about this, Moose Johnston and I on the broadcast, when you do make a move with a coach, you have to have somebody in mind. You can't just let the coach go and then scramble. So I would think that when the Giants brought in Ben McAdoo from Green Bay 2 years ago, they thought this could be the guy that winds up taking over for Tom Coughlin. I thought he did a terrific job in his press conference. And, two things stand out to me with regard to Ben McAdoo. Number one, the success that Eli Manning had in the 2 years under McAdoo, putting up career numbers in both seasons. And also the fact that McAdoo spent 12 years now with Mike McCarthy and Tom Holmgren. Tom Coughlin, I should say. I'm thinking about Green Bay.
You made one really good coach out of two.
Yeah, exactly. But spending 10 years with Mike McCarthy and then 2 with Tom Coughlin, that is, not Holmgren. He's learned from 2 of the best in the business. So I think that goes a long way towards the success that he's had. And he's young. He's not yet 40, and he hasn't been a head coach. But we'll have to see because you don't know how it will turn out. But I think when you look at all the guys out there and the continuity that the Giants are able to have moving forward, not only with McAdoo but with so many of the other coaches on the staff, staying on, including the defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo.
How about those New York Rangers? Are they going to do anything before the trade deadline, which is about a month away?
Well, that's a good question. I know there are a lot of rumors about potentially moving Keith Yandel to try and get something for him. You could probably get a first-round pick. He will be an unrestricted free agent, so do you want to lose him for nothing, or do you want to try and go on a Stanley Cup run with Yandel as one of your six defensemen? They've made big moves the last 2 years, acquiring Marty St. Louis at the deadline in 2014 and then Yandel in 2015. So they are up against the salary cap a bit, so if you're going to trade for somebody, you probably have to move a body on the current roster. But, I'm sure Jeff Gorton's on top of all of the possibilities, and we'll see what happens leading up to February 29th.
Kenny Albert joins us here on 104.5 The Team. Of course, a great follow on Twitter at Kenny Albert. You've got the call tonight, Flyers versus Capitals. Can the Capitals maintain their lead in the Eastern Conference and finally live up to expectations in the playoffs?
Well, they've had a tremendous season. They go for 13 straight at home tonight. They've only lost 8 games in regulation, 35-8-3. So, they're chomping at the bit to get back out there. They had 2 games canceled during the snowstorm. They haven't played in a week. And then they have the All-Star break following the game tonight. So this is their only game in 13 days. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. So many times in the NHL, you see the team with the best record in the regular season go out early. It happened to the Caps back in 2010 when they won the President's Trophy. But Barry Trotz is one of the best coaches in the league, and Braden Holtby's having an unbelievable year in goal. From Alex Ovechkin, Nick Backstrom on down, Kuznetsov's their leading scorer. He's having a great year. So, again, it's April, May, June is a long way off, but you have to be impressed with what the Caps are doing, at least so far during the regular season.
I know you have to run, but you do play-by-play for almost every sport. I have to ask you, with the Super Bowl fast approaching, which would be the ultimate game for you to call? Like, out of all of them, what would you want to call the most?
Well, I've been real fortunate, like you said, to be involved in all 4, and I've called Stanley Cup final games, and I've been involved in baseball playoffs this past year, worked 5 NFL divisional playoff games. Yeah, I think the Super Bowl would be the ultimate. Really any championship round, and I've been lucky enough to be involved in the Stanley Cup final on the radio and TV side as well. And I did call one Super Bowl, the international feed, the last Giants-Patriots Super Bowl, so that was a great day, but I think you'd have to say, calling a Super Bowl on the network would certainly have to be the ultimate, as well as a Stanley Cup or, like I said, a World Series or an NBA championship as well.
Well, your voice means sports to so many of us, so I'm looking forward to when that happens, and I love hearing you on all the regular season and postseason stuff. Well,
I really appreciate it, and thanks for having me on today, and great memories of calling Baltimore Skipjacks, Adirondack Red Wing games up in Glens Falls and the Capital District Islanders in Troy back in the day. So spent a lot of time in your area back in the early 90s.
All right, have a great call tonight with the Flyers and the Capitals.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kenny. Kenny Albert right there. I mean, that's it. Just hearing his voice, I just get happy. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it takes everything I have, every bit of willpower I have right here on 104.5 The Team, to not try and trick him into doing my voicemail message. You know what I mean? To not, like, hey, Kenny, just happened to, I was just curious if you've ever said, Levac's not here, leave a message. It's late in the game. It's a needed message, something. Would you know? But I don't.
The Baltimore Skipjacks.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Is that a team you can't? You're the Capital Region insider. Is that like the one team that you don't have stats for?
I don't, considering they were from Baltimore.
Right, but they played here.
They did play here. No, the early '90s games with the Red Wings, I don't have.